my name is Megan Edwards of Focus Communications, and today we're getting an update from Eloro Resources, which trades on the TSX.V exchange under the symbol ELO. And joining me again today is Eloro's Executive VP of Exploration, Dr. Bill Pearson. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing extremely well, thank you.
Now, before we get started, could you give us a quick overview of Eloro's Iska Iska project?
Sure. Well, you can see from the slide here, that's the Iska Iska mountain. It's a remarkably preserved volcanic edifice formed about 15 million years ago. And for those who've followed our story, you can see that we are in the process of outlining what we believe will be a world-class silver, zinc, lead, tin, polymetallic deposit here. Of course, usual forward-looking statements. And this week we put out another terrific drill hole. We put out a whole new geological picture of this amazing complex. So we have this caldera that's about 1.6 by 1.8 kilometers. You can see it here on this map. And this has two major stages of mineralization. What we've been really focusing on in the Santa Barbara discovery deposit is silver, zinc, lead, and tin. But as I'll show you a little later in this update, our next big target for 2023 is what we believe is deeper down, is a huge potential tin porphyry.
Okay. And earlier this week, you released assay results from 8 additional drill holes from the definition drilling program at Iska Iska, highlighted by DHK-27, where you hit significant high-grade silver mineralization. Now, for our listeners, could you run us through the results from this release?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just show you where that hole is. It's right in this hole is east, goes due west at -45. It's right through the middle of the Santa Barbara breccia. It was designed to fill in a gap in our drilling here. And we ended up getting the highest grade silver intersection we've had in the property. Extraordinary intersection, 325.5 meters long. It was 202 grams silver equivalent with 69.8 silver, which happened to be the third largest silver intercept in the world in the last month. It also had 1.2% zinc, 0.49 lead, and also some tin. And significantly, there was a very, very nice high-grade intersection in here, which was almost 400 grams silver equivalent. As you can see, very, very strong silver, 182 grams silver per ton, 1.73 zinc, almost 1% lead, a little bit of copper at 0.8 and 0.19 tin. And this was within this intersection over 109 meters. And just to put that into context, that is a football field. The overall length of the whole intersection is 3 football fields. So, and this comes right in the middle of our Santa Barbara porphyry here, our breccia pipe, sorry, right in this area. The other significant thing we put out in this release is we've really expanded the understanding of our geology here. And this is the key part of our updated geological map we had in the press release. And those of you who have followed the story will remember our big first discovery was in the Santa Barbara breccia pipe, which is up in the northern part here. And since that time, we've moved across the whole caldera. We've traced mineralization here down to the southeast, all the way down through the caldera. And you'll see this purple body in the middle of it. We now know there is a large acidic porphyry in the middle of it. This porphyry is driving the silver, zinc, and lead mineralization. And where it happens to come into the earlier tin mineralization, which is on the west side, it also has tin. You can see this black outline here. That's the extent of the hydrothermal system associated with this porphyry and the breccia pipes. It's huge, about 2.8 kilometers long by 1.5 kilometers wide, goes down to depth well over 1 kilometer. It's a huge, huge system. And then within there, you see that red dashed line. That's our outline of our high-grade zone, our greater than 90 gram silver equivalent grade shell model from Leapfrog. Again, this is very large, and I'll show you another slide a little further along. It gives you a better appreciation about how significant that is. So lots of advances in thinking here. Our definition drill program has been tremendously successful in terms of filling it in. We've done about 85,000 meters, 122 holes, and we still have not had a blank hole in all this 2 years of drilling. And we still have not fully defined the limits of this. It's really an extraordinary system. Yeah, so let's look at some of the intersections here. DHK-27, which we just put out this week, you can see is number 2 on our list, very close to DSB-30. And when you look down, you see the tremendous intersections here. The scale of these intercepts is phenomenal. You know, we have lots of 440, 300s, 200s, high 100s, very, very good grades. And you can see our 4 major metal components here: silver, tin, zinc, and lead. This hole 27 had, as mentioned, our highest average silver grade. The other thing that's important when you look at this intersection 325, the consistency of the mineralization in these holes is remarkable. There's hardly any samples below our 30 gram silver equivalent cutoff. And when you have a high zone, it's not 1 or 2 really high. It's a whole continuous zone of highs. The consistency of this mineralization is really, really remarkable. And that, of course, bodes well down the road for any future mining scenario. So to give your readers just a little better idea of the distribution of value, this is a slide, the same holes here, but it shows the value of the major metal components. So you can see here about 90% of the value is in these 4 major metals. So silver in red, you can see hole 27 is our best silver hole, but we have other ones that are also quite good. We have a number of holes where tin is a very important component in the orange. And zinc, most people don't pay attention to zinc, but it's a very important value component here. Some holes we don't have very much zinc, but you can see here, like Metzbug 2, we have a lot, and then lead. And we have some gold in here. In fact, it's very likely the gold and copper pre-existed in the basement when this whole volcanic complex formed. We also have indium, we have bismuth, we have cadmium. So there's definitely possibilities for additional value from these components. But the big 4 here will be the ones that will be the core of future value of this deposit.
So something stuck out to me about this release, and that's how your grade shell model has increased in size in only 5 months. Could you discuss this?
Yes, that's you're very perceptive. That's a very, very exciting part of this release. You know, a lot of times when you're drilling off a deposit, it's hard to show, well, what's the impact of this drilling? And this is modeling that one of my Leapfrog specialists did. This was the model that we had up in the top left in September. And it was a pretty substantive zone. You can see the dimensions here. We had a strike of 700, width of 650, depth 810. Pretty good. So all that additional drilling that we've released in October, November, and the last release this week, this is the new model as of the end of January here. And it's really remarkable and really demonstrates how effective our definition drilling has. But it's a reflection of how strong and intensely mineralized this system is. So you can see our strike now is 1,000 meters, up 300 meters. Our width is 800, up 150. Depth is down to 1,100, 290. So you can see the substantive increase. If you do the math and multiply the volume, this drilling program has doubled the volume of this potential high-grade area. Now, I'm obviously not saying all of that will come into the resource, but clearly we've got a tremendous volume of mineralized material here, which Micon is currently in the process of assessing. So it shows you that our drilling program was bang on, remarkably successful in terms of expanding the Santa Barbara deposit. But the big prize here that we're going to focus on next is, you can see the brown here. This is our magnetic inverse model. That we believe is our potential tin porphyry, which is a massive scale here. So essentially, Santa Barbara is kind of like the cherry on the top. The way I look at it, Santa Barbara is in the bank. There's no doubt we're going to outline a substantive resource, which we're working on now and targeting for the end of March, end of Q1. And we did a raise recently of 10.9 million, which allows us to continue on exploring, but we don't need to do any more drilling right now in Santa Barbara. Our big focus is nailing down the potential tin porphyry.
And you also had some underground channel sample results taken southeast of the Santa Barbara adit. Walk us through this area of the project, and could you give us an idea of the next steps?
Yeah, these are quite interesting. These are artisanal workings. You can see the smaller, the Iska Iska caldera inside, and we now know that there's a huge ring structure outside this that's about 4.6 kilometers in diameter. And there's several artisanal workings in there. And we did some channel sampling. We can see we got some very, very nice results on these sampling in there, 150 grams silver equivalent, a nice silver 55, over 145, and including, again, a higher grade part with 120 gram silver. So you can see this repeating pattern where you're getting nice wide silver intersections, and then within it, it's a much higher grade zone. And then that was in Mina Uno, which is down in the lower left-hand corner here. And then in Mina Dos, which is a little more longer. Again, you can see some very nice high-grade results, 380 grams silver equivalent, over 68. Interestingly, a little lower silver here, but nice gold and zinc and lead. And then there's a subparallel structure that was very high-grade with, again, very nice silver, almost 70, with some gold, very high zinc, 5.6, and almost 2% lead. So what this is telling you is, you can see in here in the middle, the Iska Iska caldera with the Santa Barbara. This is telling us the epithermal system is continuing on down here. It's not just limited to inside the Iska Iska caldera. The other interesting thing, is probably a little hard to see, but 800 meters to the west is Porco, and you'll see Porco on the next map. And Porco is very interesting. This is sampling we released some time ago. We had, again, a very nice length on the channel sampling, very high grades, 521 grams silver equivalent, very nice silver, 117, 144 gold, some copper, and look at that tin, 0.66. Now, as I mentioned, that's about 800 meters east. The Mina Uno, Mina Dos is just in this area of the map, just in this area. Now, the interesting thing is, you'll notice in Porco, we didn't get any lead and zinc. And when you look at the metal zonation in this deposit, like that porphyry I mentioned, the dacitic porphyry, called the Iska Iska porphyry, that is silver, zinc, lead mineralization. Doesn't have tin. Where the epithermal hydrothermal fluids run into areas with tin, it does move around. So what this is telling us when we're down on Porco, and you'll see here, this is a analytical signal map. You'll see this prominent pink area down here. This is a large magnetic intrusive body, which is not very far below surface. Over on the northwest side, there's a number of artisanal workings dating from the 1960s. They reported production of about 60 tons of tin concentrate, grading about 50%, which is processed by jigs and tables. So we know there is tin down here. The other thing that is very interesting, if you look at our magnetic model and take a slice at about elevation 3,700, which is getting down to the valley. Remember, there's about a kilometer of relief from the valley up to the peak of Iska Iska. What do you see? Well, down below this whole porphyry epithermal complex, we believe is the tin porphyry. Now, the nice thing about Casiterita here is we don't have a kilometer of mountain on top of us. We can actually, this intrusion is probably 100, maybe 200 meters below surface. So it's very, very accessible. So this is going to be our next big focus, is to confirm we have a tin porphyry. There's a mine called Cherokee, which is about 40 kilometers to the northwest of Iska Iska. It's a classic Bolivian tin mine. And it's actually in the same belt that Iska Iska. And we think that there's probably a Casiterita down below this. So this is very exciting opportunity. So we already have one clearly world-class deposit. We're working on the MRE in the Santa Barbara deposit, and that, we're aiming for the end of Q1 2023. But we now have an opportunity to outline a second potentially world. If our model holds and we can confirm, yes, this is a big tin porphyry, then we're sitting on what will be really an extraordinary discovery. So the next coming months, we're going to have the drills in there in a week or so. We're already doing detailed IP lines over this. And it's going to be a very, very exciting next phase to the evolving chapter of Iska Iska. Obviously, we need to do more drilling on Santa Barbara, but right now we don't need to do more drilling. We'll wait for the MRE, and that will guide us on what additional drilling is planned. And that MRE too will be a combination of potentially open pitable and potentially underground. So we're in a very, very exciting stage in Eloro. We got one big deposit in the bank. We're shooting for a second big one, which we think will give Eloro enormous leverage. If you look at all the critical mineral maps, lists tins at the top or near the top. And the distribution of tin around the world is relatively restricted because it requires unique conditions with a very thick crust, which are definitely in Bolivia with the famous tin belt. So in a nutshell, this release this week was a huge one, not only because of the excellent drill hole, but because of the evolving geological picture, which is giving more clarity to us on how to really explore going forward. So it's very exciting times in Eloro.
Yes, very exciting. And you basically answered this, but I just want to make sure before we let you go, is there anything else our listeners should keep in mind going forward in terms of what's next from Eloro Resources?
Well, I would say stay tuned. We'll certainly continue to be putting out news flow as our work progresses. But the story, what we're seeing here technically has really been coming together over the last couple of months. And I'm certainly looking forward to getting the drills turning again, fingers and toes crossed. If we can nail down this tin porphyry, then this will be an absolutely remarkable story. So stay tuned.
All right, stay tuned. We appreciate you coming on today to give us an update, Bill. Have a great day.
My pleasure. Many thanks.